Chapter 7 Unforeseen Dangers. Jaxton hurriedly made his way to the cargo bay, where Ravi waited for him. "You got locked out?" he said with a smirk. "Took you long enough," Ravi said with an amused expression. Jaxton made quick work of disengaging the locking system on the door and slid it open. Ravi let out a sigh of relief and immediately got back to work. Meanwhile, Logan and Maya headed to the galley. Logan pulled open the door and held it for Maya when a call from Hesbien came through the comm. "Logan, I need you to get over to the security center and see if you can get a monitor or two up and running." Maya paused inside the galley and looked at Logan, who was still holding the door. He sighed and smiled at her. "Try and hurry back," she said in an encouraging tone as he headed off, letting the door close behind him. Maya turned back towards the kitchen area in the galley and headed over to gather some snacks. A moment later, she heard the door of the galley open again. Without turning around, she said, "That was fast." The sound of quickening footsteps could be heard coming up from behind Maya, and she turned around in surprise. A second later, she was tackled roughly to the ground by Elara. The wind got knocked out of Maya, and she gasped for air, fighting against Elara to get back to her feet. Elara forcefully grabbed Maya by her hair and slammed her head into the floor with a loud smack. Maya struggled to defend herself, but Elara knocked her hands aside and slammed her head into the floor again, knocking Maya unconscious. On the way back to the security center, Jaxton decided to swing into the galley to grab a drink. As he entered, he spotted Elara standing aggressively over Maya, gagging. A small amount of wreathing black ooze gurgled up and out of Elara's mouth and poured down onto Maya's head. Jaxton froze in place and stared in shocked disbelief at the sight. Elara snapped her eyes over to Jaxton, who let out a gasp at the sudden hollow gaze. She charged at him, making odd and unnatural movements as she prepared to attack. Jaxton instinctively ducked a brutal swing as she lunged at him. She let out a guttural yell and attempted to grab hold of him. He was too swift and parried her grab. He tightly clasped his hand around her wrist, tightening her arm around and causing her to face away from him. Taking advantage of her pinned arm, he drew out his taser and landed the prong straight between her shoulder blades. An electric popping sound emanated from the taser as a surge of electricity coursed through her, sending her crumpled to the cold metal floor. He hastily handcuffed her and activated his comm. "Captain, we have a major issue. The crew seems to be infected by something, some kind of black ooze." "Do we know who has been infected?" Hesbien asked panically. "I think Maria, Sophia, and Elara, sir. Convulsions seem to be a symptom," Jaxton explained tiredly. The sound of violent shaking snapped his attention over to Maya, who convulsed chaotically on the ground. "Now Maya has gone into convulsions, sir. I need an extra man down here to help me deal with Elara and Maya. I'm in the galley." "Focus on getting them contained. We don't need an outbreak right now. I'll send someone down to help," Hesbien said. Over in the security center, Logan had gotten a few monitors working before Hesbien's voice came across his comm. "Logan, Jaxton has a situation in the galley and needs a hand. Please get there and help him right away." "Copy that, sir," Logan said as he headed off to the galley. Shortly after, Logan arrived in the galley and was met by Jaxton at the door. "The captain said you needed some help?" Logan said curiously. "Yeah, Logan, but I have to warn you. Stay calm. It's Maya," Jaxton said cautiously. Logan stared at Jaxton anxiously and asked, "Is she all right?" "She was attacked by Elara. She seems fine, but she might be infected with whatever this thing is," Jaxton said as he grabbed Logan's shoulder reassuringly. He continued, "We need to get her into containment. Do you think you can help?" Logan stood there, looking numb and pale, his hands trembling. "Where is she?" he asked in a shaky tone. "I have her handcuffed next to Elara," Jaxton said while turning to point behind him. "Can you carry Maya while I carry Elara?" Logan nodded plainly with a blank look on his face as he followed Jaxton over to the pair. Jaxton slung Elara over his shoulder, while Logan carefully and tenderly scooped up Maya and carried her in front of him. He stumbled his way behind Jaxton as they headed to the security center. Once they arrived in the security center, they placed the girls in separate containment cells. Logan lingered in the hallway, peering into the cell containing Maya. Jaxton put his hand on Logan's shoulder again in a soothing way. "Don't worry, Logan. She's going to be okay. Come on, let's get back to work," Jaxton said as he guided Logan out of the containment bay. On the bridge, Hesbien used the comm to call Dan. "Dan, we have a medical emergency, and we need you to get some samples and to run some tests for me. What's your status?" Hesbien waited eagerly for a response, but no response came. "Dan, are you there?" Hesbien tried again, but there was still no response. Back in the security center, Jaxton was trying to console Logan while he received a call from Hesbien on the comm. Jaxton, Dan isn't responding, and we need him to assess his possible infection, Hesbien said in a concerned tone. Jaxton sighed heavily before responding, "Yes, Captain," and then he trudged out of the security center to go check on Dan. Logan tried to distract himself from the stress of Maya's condition by continuing to work on getting the security monitors back up and running.